North Carolina Central quarterback Walker Harris dropped a few quotes that made me not only understand his perspective and some of his reasoning for not leaving, it also made me respect his mindset towards his team and the game of football. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And though the sports may not be sporting the way that you want them to, that's okay. Go to FanDuel.com to make every moment more, because all customers, new and existing, get a daily boost or bonus every single day, all summer long. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started today. We're going to wrap up today's episode with a look at the other side of Kenny Blakeney's proposal to sell a third of Howard men's basketball for $100 million. If you didn't see the first half of that conversation, please go to yesterday's episode, Monday. We opened it up on Monday. We're closing it off for Tuesday with two sides of the same coin. I think it's very important to understand the why behind all of this. Prior to that, Clark, Atlanta, I've been there. I've witnessed a winless season as a fan. That being said, I think that the school's doing everything that they need to get the fan base excited, despite having a winless year in 2023. Let's kick it off with Walker Harris, because speaking of things that are new, North Carolina Central has a new quarterback at the helm. Everybody knows Davius Richard was a dog, legend, right? Like, let's call him a dog doesn't even feel appropriate. Calling this man a legend is the only way that I accept describing him in his collegiate career. Davius Richard is one of the best quarterbacks for North Carolina Central that they've ever seen. Walker Harris had to sit behind that. Walker Harris had to sit behind Davius Richard for years, and he was patient, and he waited his turn, and he could have left. But that's one of the things that he spoke about. The quotes from Davius Richard, the quotes from Walker Harris, I understood his mindset, and I also really gained a lot of respect for him for his attitude towards situations. Let's not tease it, though. Here goes the quote. I have three quotes, or two quotes, and one's a sentiment. I didn't feel the need to get an exact quote on that last part. But he said, in this generation, the transfer portal is the easy way out. That's quote one. Quote two, I felt like I owed it to the team to stick it out, be the best player I can be, and when my time comes, put in work. I love that first quote. I'm gonna attack them both right now. I love that first quote because from anybody, that's a great quote. Telling me that the transfer portal is an easy way out when everybody is doing it, phenomenal quote, right? And it's not attacking anybody. It's one of those things where a hit dog will holler. It's one of those things where if it hits you, but it's not meant to hit you. This is just a statement. And it's why he didn't go into the transfer portal. And I appreciate it, because viewing the portal this way at North Carolina Central feels like a trickle-down effect from head coach Trey Oliver. We all know Oliver does not like to go into the portal heavy. He is not a heavy portal user, which is a big 180 from a lot of HBCUs, to be honest. So his attitude of high school is what it is, that's what it's going to be, I think is a very appropriate trickle-down effect to your quarterback, who is your leader on the field, saying the transfer portal is the easy way out. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that, man. He said North Carolina Central is the school that took a chance on him out of high school. This is where he wanted to stay. And if you're an everydayer, you understand how long I've been, I don't want to say I'm not on the hype train, because I don't know if there's a train for me to be hyping yet. But I do feel like I've been documenting the praise of Walker Harris for about a year now. And he hasn't been the starting quarterback for a year. When he was about to go up against Mississippi Valley State in his first game as a starter, Trey Oliver heaped a lot of praise onto him. And it didn't feel as if lip service was being applied for somebody who is about to start their first game. What it felt like is Trey Oliver genuinely believes that Walker Harris is a starting quarterback. It always made me wonder, why did he stay for so many years behind Davius Richard if he is the talent that Trey Oliver believes he to be? I still have that question to a certain degree because I need him to come out and prove it. But as far as attitude goes, I get it. He's talking about the transfer portal is the easy way out. He said he felt like he owed it to the team to stick it out. I would strongly disagree, because if you are this talent, if you are the talent that we're talking about, nobody's faulting you for going to the portal and going somewhere you can play for at least 2 years. Nobody is faulting you for that, but he chose to stay. He chose to stay. And I'm going to tell you some of the traits that these quotes have shown me that reside within Walker Harris. And then the last one that is not a quote, but it's a sentiment, is he was asked about those other quarterbacks on the field who have been slinging it. And he just said, I hope they make me better, because I feel like I made Davius Richard better. I love this attitude. It's a confidence. It's a very secure answer. Hey, I hope they make me better. Like, come on, man. And when we're looking at and also to say that he feels like he made Davius Richard better, another very confident answer, because he understood his role. He understood that backups throwing the ball well, backups performing well, pushing the quarterback is going to iron sharpen iron, basically. It's going to have an iron sharpens iron effect. And it's also, look, man, competition breeds excellence in a lot of people. And understanding that somebody's right there on your back and they're pushing you is going to make you go faster. Let's get into these traits, though. I saw confidence. I saw patience. I saw loyalty. I saw playing for something bigger than you. And in a way, all of those bundle up to being leadership. 1,000% to me. I saw confidence when he talks about how he pushed Davius Richard. That's no small feat. That's not at all. And it wasn't braggadocious. It was simply confidence and believing in yourself, understanding of your role. I saw the confidence in him in those statements. I'm looking at the patience when he's talking about waiting it out. Anytime you got to stick it out, that requires patience. I need patience in my quarterback on the field. It's a balance. Don't take too long and not read things, but don't rush anything either. I love patience. I need that in my quarterback. And then playing for something bigger than yourself. The quote is, I feel like I owed it to the team to stick it out. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That's just who you are. You wanted to stick it out. But in no way do you owe that to the team, in my opinion. I understand that to a degree they took that chance on you. But, man, there's so many people who they got to do what's best for them. And I'm not saying that he didn't do what was best for him. But people leaving the portal to do that exact thing. He chose not to do it. But he speaks about it like, hey, man, this is how I had to be. There's a clear non-legal obligation. It's just about what's in his heart. That's a trait of playing for something bigger than you. That's a trait of loyalty. This is a very team-first answer. Even when talking about the backup quarterbacks, he said, hey, man, I hope they push me. He wants them to have the same role that he had for Davius Richard. I believe that this was a great set of quotes. It showed me confidence. It showed me patience. It showed me loyalty. It showed me the ability to play for something bigger than yourself. And if you bundle all four of those things up, you get what a quarterback needs to be, and that is a leader. We'll see if everything else plays the part. But to me, that was a thing that I can't neglect, and that was one of the things that I wanted to highlight. As we continue with the show, we're going to roll off to Clark Atlanta, because Clark Atlanta is doing everything that they need to in order to make sure that fans are excited after a winless season. That's very difficult to do, but I think that they're achieving it, and we'll look at it as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. I appreciate FanDuel because new and existing customers, a lot of times it's just new. Hey, if you're new, come over here. We want to recruit you, but we want to reward those who are here and have been here for a while as well. So when looking at new and existing customers, sports may not be sporting the way that you want them to, and you may be a little bit less active. Don't worry, football is around the corner. You can make a little bit of money on preseason games if you're feeling risky, or the MLB, or the WNBA, or week 0 college football, which is around the corner. Week 1 pro football is around the corner, and you already have odds and spreads on those games. So it's up to you. It's up to you. If you go to FanDuel.com to make every moment more, you'll be able to take advantage of all of these and take advantage of the daily booster bonus that is for everybody every single day, all summer long. Go ahead and go to FanDuel.com and make every moment more. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Spencer McLaughlin because he is the host of Locked On College Football. You have a lot of conference realignment. You have a lot of big games coming up in week 0 and week 1. Locked On College Football is the only place that I would suggest for you to go as a one-stop shop to get everything you need to know about the upcoming college football season. Go ahead and make that your second listen of the day after you finish listening to moi. So I appreciate my everydayers. I want to look at Clark Atlanta because Clark Atlanta fans, this ain't speaking to the team. This ain't speaking to the coaches. It's not speaking to anybody on the board. I'm simply speaking to the fans. I've been where you are right now. I've been exactly where you're sitting. Man, my team that I love, my school that I'm a part of, didn't win a single game. I don't want to care about this sport the following season at all. Luckily for me, I had that luxury. 1, COVID. And then 2, I was off campus. We didn't win a game my senior season. That's a little bittersweet that I didn't get to have the resurgence. I didn't get to have the moment of coming back and responding to a winless season. But I've been where you are nonetheless because your season hasn't started yet. I want to make a couple of callbacks to my Texas Southern days. I want to call back to why I got excited after I lost my faith, right? Let me not lose my faith sounds dramatic, but losing hope and losing interest. That's really what it was. I lost all interest. When you don't win a game, your fans will lose interest naturally. Naturally, your fans will lose interest and not want to care about the game when it comes up the next year. But I think Clark Atlanta has done 3 major things that have lessen that blow. You're still going to have people who don't want to watch because you did win no games, but you can get as many people off the fence as possible if you do these things right here, and they did it. But let's go through my Texas Southern days. I'm going to go through the last 4 years of Clark Atlanta football, and I'm going to go through the 4 years of my collegiate career. Clark Atlanta dating back, going backwards, 0 wins, 2 wins, 3 wins, 0 wins. That's 2 winless seasons in 4 seasons. I wasn't that bad, but we did have 0 wins, 2 wins, 2 wins, 4 wins, just consistently going down. But that coach got fired after my junior season, and Clarence McKinney came in for my senior year. The reason I mention that is not because he didn't win any games oh my God. Oh, as a student reporter, that year of him winning no games, I was so critical. Y'all know how I feel about a coach only having 1 year, but I was ready to fire that man. After that first year of no games, I lost all of my hope, all of my interest, and all of my excitement around the team. Did I come back for homecoming that year? I think so. I think I came back for homecoming 2021 because, mind you, 2020 didn't happen. But homecoming 2021, man, oh my gosh. Anyway, neither here nor there. But I lost all my excitement. I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I couldn't care any less. But I want to date back to right that off season between my junior and senior season. They made a hashtag, the Sauce University, a play on Texas Southern University, TSU, right? And that generated social media buzz. And it felt like things were going to change. It felt like good things were on the horizon. That was after a 2-win season. Plus, you wanted to feel good. Fans want to feel good. Fans want to believe in your team. I would argue that 80% of fans want to believe in you. There's the other 20% that just be hating. Now, I may go a little large with that number, but they exist. But for the most part, fans want to root for you. They want to be excited. They want to see you succeed. Not majority of fans aren't pessimistic. By bringing in a new head coach, bringing in a new quarterback, and debuting a new field, you've done everything, in my opinion, to get the most amount of people off the fence as possible. That fence is the people who aren't always going to believe in you, aren't always going to be pessimistic. They're on the fence. They don't know what they're going to expect, right? They don't know how interested they're going to be. The people who are on the fence, you got them, man, because you brought in a quarterback who was the SIAC Offensive Player of the Year. If I'm looking at Clark Atlanta coming off of a winless season, and I'm asking myself, how do I get fans to care? It's very difficult to make fans care after a winless season. I'm going to bring in a quarterback who was the Conference Player of the Year in 2023. Now he's my starter. I'm going to bring in a head coach who has significantly more success than we had. And then I'm going to debut a new field because people can be interested. People can be interested from the home. People can be interested from states away, but they can't see that field properly unless they show up and they're actually there. I can say, oh, I wonder what David Wright's going to do. I can wonder how Teddy Keaton's going to coach, but I can't see that field for real on TV. It's not the same. They have a bright red field with a black end zone, red letters with a white outline on those letters. This is what you need. Give me a reason to show up. Give me a reason to root for you. Give me a reason to believe. You've done all of those things. You brought in a player who is a high-level quarterback, the most important position on the field. You brought in a coach who has some winning to his team, to his name, and you also have a new field that looks amazing, right? I seen it on Twitter, but it was a TikTok of it, and it came from the AUC Central LC. That was the TikTok, the AUC Central LC, and it was a clip. And it looked like the field was primarily covered. You maybe were able to see the last 10 to 15 yards and then also the end zone on top of that. Whew. Red field, black end zone, red lettering with white outline around the lettering. This thing looked amazing. If I was in Atlanta, I'd want to show up to see that field. If I was a Clark fan, I'd want to show up to see that field. When I'm talking about reasons to care, give me a quarterback who gives me belief. Gives me a quarterback who's exciting and gives me a reason to root. Give me a coach who has won, who gives me belief, and give me a new stadium that gives me the reason to want to show up, because nobody's going to want to miss that. It looks just like Eastern Washington. Look up the Eastern Washington field, and that'll give you kind of a prototype of what to expect with Clark Atlanta. Things look amazing. Now, with all of the excitement I had there, this is a way more serious topic that we're about to approach, and that is Kenny Blakeney. Because we talked about the decision to want to sell a third of Howard men's basketball for $100 million. But what about the why? Why is he even wanting to do this? Because it all comes down to survival. And let's break that down as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Is your car messed up? Taking it to the mechanic and they trying to charge you an arm and a leg? Don't fall for it, man. A lot of times they're not even charging you the proper price for these parts. What they're doing is they're finding how much the parts cost, and they're going to charge you an extra $100, $200. And then they're also going to put labor on top of that. Take the matters into your own hand. Go to eBay Motors. And I say hand on purpose because you got your phone. You got your phone. If you're on YouTube, you can just swipe out and you'll be able to go to ebaymotors.com. You'll still be able to listen to me as we're talking about this, right? But you go to ebaymotors.com. Find your car, put your car in the My Garage section and find that part that you need. They have over 120 million parts. So you know they're going to have the part that is meant for you. It's just that simple. It's just that easy. Go to ebaymotors.com. Get that part and tell the mechanic, I got it. I just want the labor. It's very easy. It's up to you to go to ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. We've looked at one side of the Kenny Blakeney decision to sell a third, or the desire, I should say. It's not a decision because it hasn't happened, but the desire to sell a third of Howard men's basketball. We looked at that. But now what about the other side? What about the other side of the coin? Let's look at why he wants to do it, because we spent yesterday, and if you haven't heard yesterday's episode, I really do suggest you go back and listen to it. I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It is not necessarily your typical Locked On HBCU episode where we talked a little business. We talked, it's not that far off because I didn't want to get too deep into the business talk and say something wrong, but I enjoyed it. Right? Like, I enjoyed it a lot. But now, why does he want to do it? It all comes down to self-preservation. At the end of the day, all of it comes down to self-preservation. He just wants to make sure that Howard can actually play at the highest level. I have one question at the end of this that I'll bring up, but I want to read to you the quote that is given on why he wants to do this. And I quote, I don't want to have a two-tiered system where we're not able to compete for the NCAA tournament or the national championship. And from what I'm hearing right now, that is a real possibility that there's going to be an NCAA tournament that isn't going to include everyone else. It's going to just include those Power Four conferences and maybe the Big East. That's not what I signed up for. It ain't what I signed up for either. College sports are always changing. I said that on yesterday's episode. College sports are always changing. You've seen realignment. Man, the freaking Big Ten now has teams in California. The idea of geography and conferences becomes more and more fluid. The idea of geography becomes more and more non-existent as the days go on, right? People started saying that about the SEC getting Texas and Oklahoma, and they're just spreading their geographical footprint. Yeah, but this right here, you got teams in freaking Ohio all the way to California in the Big Ten. College athletics is changing. It simply is. The Pac-12, non-existent. College athletics is changing. Of everything that I've mentioned, I don't know if anything would have the seismic shift that selling a part of your school, your university team would have. I don't know. Athletic programs being up for sale, that's some crazy stuff, something that I never heard of. It was a very innovative idea, a very new, fresh idea. Kenny Blakeney wants to do it because he understands that if they make the decision, because this is important, if we accept that his mention of the NCAA tournament becoming exclusive is an eventual reality, HBCU basketball will not matter on the national scale when it comes to the end of the season. It just won't. Because the trickle-down effect will be, A, you're going to miss the big dance. This is going to take out a lot of mid-majors, and you're talking about the mid-major that is always either the 16 seed or in the first four to play to be the 16 seed, struggles to get a 14. This is the mid-major conference that we're speaking about here. Lucky to get a 15. They're 100% out. You'll never make the big dance again if they get exclusive like this. Even if they do start letting mid-majors in, you're going to be at the back of the line. So that's the immediate impact that he's trying to avoid. That's why with this selling, this investment, this whatever you want to call it, he would leave the MEAC. It's not because he doesn't respect what Commissioner Stills is doing. It's not because he doesn't love the MEAC. It's not because of any of those things. It's self-preservation. It's saying I need to make it to the big dance, and being in the MEAC is not going to make it possible. The next trickle-down effect comes with this. What about the NIT? Right now, if you win the conference, you immediately make the NIT. That's in the regular season. If the regular season champion wins the tournament, then now they go to the big dance. But what happens if you take the winner of the tournament out the big dance and two separate teams win the conference in the regular season and in the tournament? Are you going to have multiple HBCUs in the NIT? Most likely not. Or does the NIT just mean nothing because it's an entirety of mid-majors? And now people don't care on a grandiose scale. All of these things are trickle-down effects that are very real. I understand the fear that Kenny Blakeney has. My one question would be this. If you leave and you go independent, how is that going to be any better than being in the MEAC? I don't think that it is. Because if you're independent, you're still not going to be in the Big East. You're still not going to be in a Power Four conference. You're going to be an independent who came from a MEAC, who came from an HBCU conference, and they're going to still treat you that way. So I don't think it's as beneficial, but I understand doing something is better than sitting here and accepting your fate while doing nothing. So I get it. I 100% get it. That is the why. He wants to survive in a changing collegiate landscape as an HBCU and give himself the best chance to actually be on a national stage. So that's what you have to look forward to. We'll be back on tomorrow's episode. Make sure you're making Locked On College Football your second listen, because I really do want you to be up to date and ready for the collegiate football season. I know that we're going to kick our conference, or we're going to kick our collegiate football talk up in a little bit. So you just have to wait and see. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.